This week, I wanted to spend a good deal of time going over the third bullet point in the second section of part two of project three. And so, in this third bullet point, you're going to compare, contrast, and visually represent how different teachers' practices impact student success. So, to do that, we're going to find three teachers with the highest score completion rates and the three teachers with the lowest course completion rates. We're going to use table or spreadsheet, and we'll go over that table or spreadsheet piece in a minute. Pull the three highest completion rate teachers and the three lowest completion rate teachers from the data set provided and include them in your report. Analyze what each group did differently in terms of communication, outreach, and do the following. So first it says based on the completion rates, determine the top three and bottom three performing teachers visually represent their metrics, tables, or graphs. Compare and contrast their metrics, results, course averages. You want to state the trends that you see in the data, and you want to state the factors that seem to contribute to higher and lower course completion rates. So we're going to talk about a couple things. I have taken the data set from the team performance metrics, and I have added it all to a Google Sheet, and then I organized my percentage of students who completed the course column by lowest to highest, and then I deleted everything else. So in light gray, I have the three lowest scores or completion percentage of course completion, and in dark gray, I have the highest three percentage of students who completed the course. So let's talk about a couple different things of how we would set this section up in our paper. So there are a couple different things. I like the idea of using a combination of both graphs and tables. And so in order to do that, one of the things that I would recommend is that you start playing around with some of the data just like I'm about to show you so you can start drawing your conclusions. So one of the first things that I tried is grabbing everything. So I went from column A all the way over to column J, and I went up to my button and hit create a graph. And I want to expand this so you can see what I'm talking about and what I'm doing. So when I did that, I get all kinds of craziness in terms of data. And you can see that for each teacher, I have the different points, average monthly parent phone calls, and so forth. You can do this with lines, you can do it with the bar. Here you can see that the yellow extends really high, which makes the lower numbers not stand out as much. But what you can see when it gets to the red and oranges, and you can play around with the colors, but the three, K, G, and O, are the lowest of the three course completion percentages, and the red bar and the orange bar extend far higher than those for N, Q, and B. And so if we look over to the right, we see that for those, we have the red as average monthly student calls overdue, and orange is non-workers 7 to 13 days. So when we start writing about that, I would actually go into just a little profile first before we even get to this point of there are three teachers K, G, and O, who had the three lowest completion rates, which were 80% for teacher K, 84% for teacher G, and 87% for teacher O. As a result, those same teachers had higher non-workers for 7 to 13 days, and then I would give those numbers. And I would create a table for that. You can also put in the chart, the graph, just like I've shown here, and you can use that as your talking points as you work your way through the data. So if we go back, I want to delete this for a minute. Let's look specifically at a couple points. So I got rid of that. So if I go back to my table and I look at a few things, I look at the average monthly parent calls overdue. And there are some abnormalities or outliers in this. So Notice that teacher N had 7 parent phone calls overdue while Q and B had 0. But that teacher still had a pretty high complete percentage of completion rate. You go over to average monthly student calls overdue. The outlier here is student O because there were only 2 overdue, yet there was still a low percentage of completion in the course. You also look at teachers K and G, and you see that 19 and 22 of those student calls are overdue. So those teachers are not making their student calls, and as a result, they have 2 of the lowest course completion rates in the entire course, along with the second highest number of students who have not worked for 7 to 13 days, 2 of the highest numbers of how long it took to complete the course, and 2 of the highest numbers in non-workers. So that's the type of information you're going to talk about in this section. So you can set up a couple of different, I would almost set up that kind of piece as a couple different tables to show those pieces, and then you also write about it in your words, okay? And so as we do that, of course we pointed out that O is an outlier because of the monthly calls being made, text, and so forth, but yet there's higher numbers in the non-worker percentages, weeks to complete the course, and low score. So those are a couple of the talking points that you'll use to complete this part of the course, or this project 3. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want you to be the one to analyze the data. But if you have any more questions about how to configure this or set up some of these graphs and charts, please feel free to contact me. I'll add my contact information to the announcement.